Hello and welcome to Narrative4Development, part of the Narrative for Change program. Let me tell you a story about a group of Bengali women in an area of high social deprivation in Birmingham. Cross that out. Why am I using those words? Why not say, let me tell you a story about a group of women who lived in the place that they called home? I think we need to start to question the words that we use, the names that we use, and why. Because they inform the way we relate to the people who we work with, and also inform and support our mindsets with regards to those people and also with ourselves. Now, for a range of reasons, I'm not sure why. It could be non-representation, it could be poverty, it could be cultural norms, whatever the reason. These women struggled a huge amount with self-belief and self-confidence. And within the community that they lived, they had a very low status. And this impacted on their parenting skills and also in the way their children viewed them. Now, the Family Services Unit in the area recognised this, and they decided to develop a project to question these and address them, and they called me in to deliver the project. So I chatted to the women and we decided it will be a storytelling project, and we would have crafts that we would do, and that would build confidence, and perhaps it would lead to a book as the end result. So the women and I started to create collages together from paper and fabrics, and we stitched them, and these collages were of the stories that we started to develop and the stories that we started to share. So as we stitched and sewed and sewed and stitched together, the women also shared their personal stories of their personal lives, and we became a strong group. And the book was produced. It was all shiny and glossy. We had a launch night, and it was illustrated by the women, and there were spaces inside for community translations, and it was all brilliant, and that should have been great. But it wasn't. There was still a question mark, because the women seemed to have put all of their confidence into the book, but not somehow into themselves. And they still struggled with this belief that they were amazing women. And so we decided to extend the project to make puppets, and these puppets would perform the stories. And so the women became performers, and we worked on voice and body language and tonality and I suppose how we project ourselves. And the children of the area heard these stories in their schools and nurseries, delivered and told by the women. And the women's confidence grew. And as the women's confidence grew, so their status within the community was also raised. And their children viewed them in very different ways now as moms who had something powerful and passionate to give. Although it had always been there, perhaps it just hadn't been shared in a way. So I suppose the project enabled the women to tell stories, enabled the women to tell their stories. But perhaps more importantly, it enabled them to make sense of the stories that they had lived and take some agency over those stories and agency over themselves. So here are some pictures of the puppets that we made. And here is the book, all shiny and glossy, with the spaces for community languages to be written. Really pretty pictures. There you can see the stitching around the collage. And here is where I wrote the project up. And if you want to have a look, there it is, Storytelling, Conflict and Diversity. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks a lot for listening.